How important are first words? Incredibly important. And not really that important at all. Don't you love it when I'm straightforward? Okay, as writers, we think a lot about the first words, how to open, how to get going, how to get off the track. And I think you can overthink it. Yeah, that's me. Me, the consummate overthinker, saying you can overthink it. I like to begin. I like to get nasty. I think there's three ways to open. You have to do three things. You got to provide a hook. You can't just be boring and expect anybody to continue to read. I mean, it's hard enough expecting anybody to read anything anymore. So, what can you do? You can open with three different things. You can be very poetic and beautiful and lovely. For example, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and go on and on and on. This tells your reader, my story here is going to be written in this certain fashion, and you're going to love my beautiful turns of phrase and the way I can handle the English language like Thor with his hammer, or you can be like Hemingway and just be specific and get the person into the situation and tell them exactly what's happening. For instance, Farewell to Arms. Now, I could just make up some Hemingway talk, and I like to make fun of his writing because I have the right to make fun of Ernest Hemingway, right? This is the first words of A Farewell to Arms. Farewell to Arms. In the late summer of that year, we lived in a house in a village that looked across the river and the plain to the mountains. Yeah, that's the opening line to one of the classic novels of the 20th century. I love Hemingway. He could open and he just tells you what's going on. So, I mean, there's that. At least he's not deceiving you. I mean, there was a valley and a river. Although you could say anything if you were opening like Hemingway. It was cold, and we had jackets on, and the jackets were warm, but they weren't as warm as the jackets of last year. And my shoes didn't feel right, and I thought maybe I was developing a bunion, and the bunion was hard and it hurt. And she looked at the bunion, and then I looked at her, and then we thought maybe we should stop talking about feet. Whatever, That's how Hemingway goes. Or you could try to get the theme of the entire work put into that one or two sentences of the opening. A good example of that I'm going to bring up is George Orwell's 1984, the dystopian, pretty much crap show. Okay, it's a great book, one of my favorites, but I mean, if you're looking for laughs, yeah, not so much. Alright, but listen to this. Head up. The opening of the book. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. That's one sentence. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. And that's a way to open a book. That's theme opening. So you could do the specific. You could just lay out facts and specifics. Go Hemingway. You could do a flourish of lovely language like we did with the Dickens, or you could go theme. I love the clocks were striking 13. Couple things there, you're like, all right, it's cold, blah blah blah, and yeah, who cares about that? But the clocks were striking 13. Not just the clock was striking 13. It says like a billion things in one sentence. That's called being laconic and awesome and scrunching everything into one sentence. So as soon as you hear the number 13, you're obviously put off because, maybe even subconsciously because, hey, I don't like the number 13. It's an unlucky number, but that's really not the point. The point is no clock says 13 on it. So if the clocks are striking 13, it's an old expression meaning things are not right, and you can't really believe what's happening, and you can't believe what's happening now or then or whatever. And that's pretty much the theme of the entire novel, which is that when government becomes this overweening horror show, then nothing makes sense anymore, and they can tell you that up is down and down is up, and you can do the wrong think and the wrong speak, but whether you like the book or not, which I think any person that has any knowledge of history should, but that's my opinion, and it's really not that important right now. The point is, he put all that into one sentence. Okay, so do one of those three things, I'd say, if you're going to open your book. But if you don't have the greatest opening, don't worry about it, because if you get hung up on the friggin' first words, you got to write the rest of the book. So you can always come up with a better intro, later. So just get going. Just get going. Get your reader interested, either by one of those three methods, or do something that I haven't thought of, because there's probably a billion things that are like that, because there are people that are much more successful than I am. This is Tyler Edwards. See ya.